Hey, this is Jeff, the Area52 Pro Diesel Repair. So we are back. Got these clutch fiber or friction plate discs or whatever. These I got these from this Loader Parts Source Incorporated. Doesn't have their website on there. Just Google it. You'll find it. But this is what they are. Just goes in between there. We're going to reassemble those clutches, get them adjusted upright. And what's interesting is these have a metal inside. They're a lot heavier. As you can see, like the old ones that were in here, they're just basically kind of a cardboardish type of fiber. I mean, they just, just now broke this, but it was already going to be peeling. This was junk anyways. This was the one in here that was on the forward clutch. On this side it was still in here. This one was completely gone. But I don't know if these being made of metal is better or not. I don't know if it really matters. Obviously this part's not, but it's made metal in here. But that's what we got. They're about I think $27 each in change, somewhere around there. We're gonna get those put back on here quick. So basically right now I've got the fiber pushed in there, pushed into place, and then the next pieces we're going to get these all put back on, and then tighten the nuts and adjust them up. This essentially what we're doing here. Reverse, I've got previous videos that show I filmed taking this apart. This is a service manual I got from Gen Sales for this unit. Alright, so the first thing we're doing here is this is the outer plate. We're gonna slide that into position there. It's kind of essentially how it's gonna work. This will spin with the engine, and then when it engages, that's what rotates all the rest. So your engine rotates in this direction, and so when it's rotating like that, and since this is the reverse clutch, as you can see, when you push it, that's how come your wheels will turn in reverse direction, because of how this chain loops through here. It loops over this one and under this one. That's how it changes the direction. So that's essentially how that goes. Next piece that goes on is this little washer. Then you got this bearing. Alright, then you got this. It's going to go on here. That's what your nut's going to go up against here. When you do pull this apart, I don't think I mentioned before, but that does come out. Just be careful about that. And then you slide that in place there. It rotates on that bearing. Yeah, so the next thing that'll go on is the castle nut. We'll stick that on there, and then we'll get the other side put together. Now we don't have to worry about anything with the chain yet, because we actually have the chain taken apart, buried inside of all of these parts there. There's the master link and the clip underneath of there. To clean all that stuff up, but I use these magnetic trays because it's awesome. Just throw everything in there and it's there. So we will get this other side put together here. Okay, so we'll grab this piece here. Slides right into place there. And you got to remember your washer. And you can stick the bearing in there like that if you want to, and just stick that over into place there, and you can feel it rolling on there. And then we got our nut. You see that already? Tighten this way down, and you rotate that, you can see that it's still, you know, it's wanting to move everything in here. You loosen the nut up a little bit, then you get that. So that's what we're talking about with the adjustment. It doesn't take much. Like I said, I just put that on finger tight, and it wants to rotate that. So you want to have it just right, you know, because you don't want this thing to sit here and, you know, rub back and forth, or, you know, sitting there, this part being engaged, you know, because with the engine running, this will be slipping in here and it'll wear that friction plate out too fast. So right now we're just going to leave these like this, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust it without having the chain on there. That's losing my mind here. That way I could see and feel how it all works. So, alright, so it was a little difficult, but to do with one-handed camera, but essentially you're just tightening and loosening these to where you get about 3 or 4 inches, you know. And you see in my previous video when that thing, you know, this lever went all the way clear back to here on that reverse clutch when it was gone. So, and these are a little loose, but that's the way it's going to be left. So about 3 to 4 inches. But let me show you the procedure right in here. What I'll do is I'll kind of move along this really slow. That way you can pause it. So they're talking about 3 to 4 inches each movement from neutral to fully engaged. Alright, I'll see if I can show you this. If you can, you know, you got reverse clutch, forward clutch. So when this is engaged forward, obviously this one's loose, and this one drives. As long as you can see that this gear turns, you know, that's turning the wheels. So you have that loose. Now this side's loose. And you have it in reverse. This is engaged now. So and you see that turns everything. Now that one turns everything. And that one's loose. So that's essentially how it works. Alright, so our next step is we're going to install the chain. Just goes around these two. This sprocket goes on the inside of this one, goes up around here just like so. Right around there. This one, it stays, and this will actually slide out push into that chain to tighten it up. It's on there just like that, and we will, oops, I dropped it. Put it together with that master link. And so this is the master link here. I cannot do this with two hands, or with one hand. So it goes in there like that. It's got these little little notches right there. That's for this clip right here to slide into there. On one end of it, you kind of just spread it apart. Damn, this camera. Right there, just kind of spread it apart. That little crack right there, it's actually open, you know. If you don't find it when you're doing it, which I couldn't the first time, is because this clip was on the back side of the chain. I really don't see the need of having to have it in that position. It was a pain in the ass to get off. I was using a mirror and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to put it on the outside. Okay, so we got the master link in. Now it's time to slide this, and it goes in there and catches on those notches there, and that's what holds it together. Alright, so I was almost an idiot. Almost is because it's not really a mistake if it doesn't leave the shop, if you've caught it before it leaves. Got that piece there. Now I can slide this thing on the outside of there. There. Now that that's on there, as you can see that little gap right there, that's, you just pry that apart, slide the thing back, work its way off of there. Front piece comes off, and then that other piece you see in the other picture. So now, you know, we slide this forward here, make sure it's kind of, you know, level, and tighten the chain. Alright, that was just kind of a start and run, and just kind of showing you how these things work. You know, like I said, these things spin, and that one locks in for reverse, that one locks in for forward. It's not much more complicated than that. This is a pretty simple design and setup. You know, this is your shaft coming from the engine. This is what's driving all of that. You know, so when none of them are locked in, you just got these things turning and nothing happening here. You know, and you put it in forward, it locks this one, so now that transfers the power to the chain and turns it in this direction. And then when it's released and you lock this one in for reverse, then it runs the chain the other direction. Like I said, he's got loop down below this one, below that one. I mean, pretty dang simple. So that's the clutch installment and adjustment and everything on the M610 Bobcat skid steer. And you know, pretty simple if that's all you find going on. So we're going to go ahead and get this outside cover back on, and then we got these covers here that you know, screw on over the top. You know, like I said, that's where you can remove these without taking this cover off to adjust these clutches if need be. So that's that. Alright, so with that, we're done with everything in here. Go ahead and put this plate back on. I got to get that. I don't have a new gasket, so what I'm going to do is actually, this piece is broken. I'll leave this piece on here, but I'm going to put a bead of silicone around there. It's not supposed to seal any liquid, but with the silicone around there, it'll be just fine. Either that, or I could get a lot of gasket material and make a new gasket for it, but it's gonna be just fine. So anyways, I'm just gonna dump the oil through the side here. Normally you fill it right through there. They got one of those on both sides, but when I flushed this system out and I dumped some new oil in here, and I had the drain port open on the other side, it started coming out on the other side. So it is both sides are not, they're not isolated. So you can go ahead and fill just one side, and down here it's got these ports here, and basically you just want it in between these right here. So if you got a little bit of oil coming out of here, you're probably okay, but you definitely want it, pull this cap off, and I'm gonna probably most of it, obviously this thing's not sitting level, so I can't, I gotta get the wheels back on and get it back on the back level again, and we'll add some more. But for it being easier right now, I'm just gonna dump it in right through the side here. It takes about 18 gallons, so I'm gonna get it probably almost up to this level right here, so give or take, and then probably about there, and then get it all put together, get the wheels and stuff back on, and then we'll top her off again. But and these check ports like this, there's not any on the other side, so obviously it's the system is bridged together both sides, so because this side is the exact match to the other side.